Shalom Yasharala. Before you go into this lesson, we give all honor, all glory, and all praises be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakodash. We give them all honor to the apostles and prophets and elders of GMS Camp, but known as Great Millstone, for the bring forth the 100% truth that have been currently edified under. Shalom to the elect, the tabernacle of David, and Honorable Zariah coming to this lesson. Now, before we go into the lesson, you all know where I'm already going at. And this lesson proves that it's an undeniable fact that the Gentiles mentioned to be saved according to the scriptures are indeed Israel. And we're going to show you, not by definition, but even in your AI and certain historical points given to prove this. Let's start with the definition, which is goy, which goes into the word goyim. Let's get it. So
Strong's H 1471. Goy.
Right.
Goy.
Right. So it is, which means a nation or people. Point 1, usually of non-Hebrew origins. Point 2, descendants of Abraham. And point 3, of Israel. Verse and seed goes into the goyim, which could also imply, which it says here. It says of the same root as H 1465, in the sense of massing, a foreign nation, hence a Gentile, also a troop of animals or fleet of locusts, Gentile, heathen, nation, or people. And we already see the classification as to which the 3 points majors in, usually non-Hebrew, descendants of Abraham and of Israel. Now let me show you the same answer mentioned as well in this site. Let's read. Because for those who don't realize, I tend to use this right now just to prove, because I see many people trying to use this to try to debunk us. So now I'm going to use the exact same here. This is my question. My question is plain. Notice, there's no trick with it. So even if the word Gentile usually means non-Israel, it can also apply for Israel? Exactly, yes. Even though the word Gentile, Hebrew goy, or Greek ethnos, usually means a non-Israelite, it can and does apply to Israel when they are in Gentile / heathen status because of disobedience. Here's the breakdown. It says the meaning of Gentile, Hebrew, which again, goyim, which you just went into, nation, or says usually non-Israel, which we just read. Greek, which is nation, people, or group, usually non-Jew. Latin, which is paganus, which is pagan, which is village, person, or non-Israelite. So the default usage, foreign nations and non-Israel, but Israel can function as a Gentile. Scriptures example, Hosea 1 and 9, that we know that goes into status, Gentile, heathen, identity, still the covenant seed, which is what? Israel. You have Psalms 106 and verses. Just listen, my question was plain. There's no trick with it. None whatsoever. Let's keep going. Like what you all like to do to try to make it look as though we are off. But this is no trickery, simply non-bias. Let's keep going. If they mingle themselves among the heathen and learn their works, it says Israel actively adopted Gentile ways or Gentile in function. Ah boy. It goes into Maccabees 1 verses 11, make a covenant with the heathen. Israel now functions legally, culturally, and religiously as Gentiles. Case closed. We can keep going. It says Romans 2 and verse 28 and verse 29, Paul calls Israelites, non-Jews, outwardly Gentile in a practical status. Principle, Gentile status, not bloodline. When Israel abandoned Torah or takes covenant with heathen nations, they enter Gentile / heathen status, even though they remain Israelite by covenant. Correct? Have we not been saying this for the longest while? In summary, default Gentile equals non-Israelite, exception biblical historical Israel can be Gentile in practice, law, culture, or social classification due to disobedience or Hellenization. Covenant still intact, identity remains. Do we not say this even before artificial intelligence came out? AI. Have we not been saying this for the longest while? Yet you're still here, bugged out in your minds, trying to say, hey, that is not so. The Gentiles and the Greeks, they are different from Israel. What is wrong with y'all? Even your AI, which was designed to aid you, is telling you otherwise. And now I've seen Christians try to twist questions, not plainly. Look at my question. Plainly. They try to twist questions, not plainly, twist it to get an answer so that they could put it up and make it look as though what we are saying is false. But a simple question gave all this answer of non-biasness. So be careful with these people. They are not knowing the scriptures, they are not knowing the historical points, and it's an undeniable fact. The Gentiles, the Greeks, or the heathens, as mentioned to be saved, are Israelites. Because we have to continue with this. Let's go on. Now you see how they even brought out certain points. In Romans, which means Paul was speaking to who? Israelites. Those who did not know that they were Israelites. That's all it is. Whether they be a Hellenization or come from another land looking like a heathen. Come on. This is why we don't teach skin color in GMS camp. If your forefathers goes back to what? A descendant of Israel, you are an Israelite. You could be blue, for crying out loud. As long as your descendant trace back to Israel, you are Israel. That's what we teach. Let's keep going. We ain't stopping. Hold on. I ain't done. Because there's more to it. I tried to think it back. I even outlined the difference between what is the difference between Gentile and Greek. It is understood, no bias. I can make chance that I put no biasness. No bias. Just definition and usage. Here is a clean historical and biblical distinction between the Greek and Gentile, including how Helen fits in. Oh wait, because as far as I can recall, one of the brothers did a lesson with Helen, the difference between Helen and Hellenization, and what the person tried to paint is Helen is not speaking about Israel. But then in this text, it's mentioned differently because the guy Malak Nakath was speaking correctly. Let's go on. It says Gentile. It says Gentile biblical category, Hebrew, same thing, Goyim, Greek, which is ethnos, definition, anyone who is not a Jew or not part of Israel. Usually, right? Because we ask the question if it's possible, and it says yes, because and it even give us the historical points. We don't have the lean anymore. Let's go. It says, key point, Gentile is not an ethnicity, which is correct. What Abana has been saying for the longest while. It's not an ethnicity. It is not. It is a covenant or religious classification. That's all it is. Let's keep going. We ain't done. Greek. Example, Greek, Romans, Egyptians, Syrians, Africans, and all Gentile. Because all Gentiles, right? Just say it. It says Gentile could believe in many gods, or later in Hamashiach, still Gentile by birth, which is correct. Greek ethnos, right? Cultural category, meaning Greek, which is Helen, derived from Helen, the mythic ancestor of the Greek. A person of Greek ethnicity or culture. Greek is an ethnic culture or identity. Not all Greeks were philosophers or idol worshippers. It is a people group. Let's keep going. How Greek is used in the Bible. The Bible issues Greek or Helen in two distinct ways. Literal ethnic Greek, a real person or origin, or by origin or culture select. Example, some Greeks among those who went up to worship in John 12 and verse 20, and even that we know is not accurate. But anyways, that's why we're going on. We keep going because it's going to identify to show you. Now it says these were ethnic Greek, therefore Gentiles were representative a general Gentile because the Greek culture dominated Mediterranean world, Greek sometimes stands for Gentile in general. So it's a broad spectrum I'm trying to paint for you. But let's keep going. Verse 4, it says, example, there's neither Jew nor Greek and Gentile. This doesn't mean that the Jew versus ethnic Greek only. It means Jews versus non-Jews. This is what they're going at. But let's classify, because there are Jews, Israelites, that were not Israelites. Let's keep going. It says, here it says, right? It says, right here, we keep asking, because of disobedience, it says, short answer, yes, disobedient Israelites were regarded as or treated as and called heathens in judgment language. It says judgment language. No, they were not ontologically or covenantally reclassified as Gentiles. But here's the mistake, because I'm going to keep asking, but again, my question is plain. Conclusion, Israel became, I'm just going to fast forward because it will be long. Israel became heathen in judgment and behavior without becoming Gentile in covenant identity, and scriptures repeatedly holds both truth at once. Are you sure? Because when I did bring up the precept, here what it says, did Israel became Gentile? The text faithful answer is two layers. Yes, in law, citizenship, and public identity, which we talk about. Public identity, Jews were legally absorbed into Greek ethnos, hence making them Greek ethnos. Let's keep going. Greek or ethnos meaning Gentile. Let's keep going. They are pagan according to the scriptures and according to historical points and AI, which we're reading right now. It says they were counted among the nations. They could not call themselves Jews. Tribal identities were erased administratively. It says Greek civics identity replaced Israelite self-definition by every imperial, social, or legal definition. They were Gentile / Greek. No, let's go. No, in divine election and ancestral reality, and yet the same book says Israel was punished and Israel repented. Israel was restored, which means that the author still recognizes Israel as Israel, which is correct. It says the identity is suppressed, which it is right now, because we are scattered, not metaphysically destroyed. Correct. This is why the revolt is called the deliverance of Israel. Let's keep going. Why both can be true. This is the key. Plain, imperial and Slavic status, Greek and Gentile, which is speaking about Israel, and then covenantal ancestry, Israel, which is correct, 100%. So we identify now that Israel was also called Gentile or Greek, whether it be ethnos or Helen. We just read it. Let's keep going. We ain't done. We fast forward, because that is exactly what Maccabees is lamenting, right? Keep going. Your claims correct, not dismissed. It says your statement, Israel became Gentiles and can no longer call themselves the tribe but Greek or Grecian. Verdict historically, textually, and correct under law, which is part of your history. You can literally type in. Listen to this. You can literally do some research. Don't be lazy. Type in the Hellenization. You can go into a Jewish encyclopedia or the JewishHistory.org. You can .net, whichever one. You can literally type in the Hellenization. It brings up a plethora in either or of historical evidence identifying what we are reading here, which is what they got this from. Let's keep going. And further beyond, of course, the realhistory.net, the real history. So like, I don't get the site. I think my best bet is to put it up in the description. I don't get any site. But let's continue. But I know there's three, matter of fact, that gives the proper answer, the proper breakdown. And there are also books that identifies the same claim, which I can, once I but let it back to is one. Boy, it have so much books, my brain I know what to do. I'll just have to do some lessons on these other books. That's all. Make it easier, right? All right. So it says incorrect only if overstated as permanent or absolute, meaning we are not permanent Gentiles or Greeks. We are not permanently of the other nations, but because of our disobedience and our what we have done, we are Gentiles or Greeks by what actions, culture, laws, and religious beliefs. That's it. Not by identity or ancestral and gene. Not by that. We are Israelites by gene, ancestral gene, and by covenant, to be exact. And we know this, even though we formed a covenant with the heathen, even though it was not a holy covenant formed by the Heavenly Father Himself. But let's keep going. We will get to that as well. This is in here. You do know that, right? Let's keep going. It says, the text do supports a false gentilization. What they do not support is Israel ceasing to exist, which we said every day. Yet Christianity still says what? Israel is done away with. We are now Gentiles and everybody could be saved. This is where the universalism came in. You have to remember that. This is what they have said and claim and fight for. But they have lost the battle because even artificial intelligence is showing it this. Let's keep going. Covenant being permanently annual, like exactly what I said. Let's keep going. I think it's the same thing. Yeah, same thing. So let's slap it. You know how this be. Final non-biased conclusion, according to 1st and 2nd Maccabees, Antiochus legally and publicly transformed Israel into Greek or Gentiles, erasing Jewish self-identification and practices. In lived realities, they became Gentiles, yet the book simultaneously maintains that Israel remains Israel in judgment, allowing restoration once the decree ended, which again is prophecy. We can read it in prophecy. It's actually outlined in the text, Maccabees. Don't be lazy, because I'm going to go into just now, but don't be lazy, right? It says, this is not contradiction, that the Second Temple theory. If you want, we can compare, which we don't need to. We don't need to talk about the Quran, but let's keep going. We didn't done. So what the text explicitly says, right? No softening. Maccabees and the dealing with the information here, it says, right? The king wrote his whole kingdom that all should be one people and that each should give up his custom. This is forced unification, one law, one civic identity, one public culture. This is not metaphor, it is imperial reclassification. Before it says no imperial reclassification, right? Now it says it's imperial reclassification because according to history, it happened. We became Gentiles, we became Greeks, we became heathens. Whether you like it or not, we became Egyptians, we became Trinidadians in another land, islands, small islands. We became Northern African Americans and all the other things. These are Gentiles. These are Gentiles. We became that. This is not hard to understand, you know. Just don't be biased with it. Christians, you have lost undeniable fact with evidence in scriptures and historical points. You have lost. Keep going. Because we ain't done. Let's keep going. Alright? Let's go to the next one because remember we make some screenshot one, even though some might be duplicated screenshot two in once, twice, you know, two pictures, two are the same pictures select. It's still there. We're still showing it again. It's still there. It says they should leave their sons uncircumcised and make themselves abominable like the heathens, so that they might forget the law. Here's the text. Israelites were made like the heathens. Covenant markers were abolished. Torah identity erasure, not just imitation. It says what the Torah identity was criminalized. This is legal erasure, not just imitation. So you see the process of also iconoclast taking place. Erase our identity and put another people to to hold up that identity, because what the purpose was to according to Psalms 83. I'm getting precept come on my mind for some reason can't remember it, even though I know the precept by heart, but no, my mind can't bring it out. So let me get it. It says, for lo, verse 2, for lo, thy enemy make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head, that they can crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Here's the point. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Isn't this a key point to ensuring that the name of Israel is no longer remembered by erasing, simply erase? This is legal erasure, not just imitation. The aim was to erase our culture, traditions, and practices, and laws, and ways, and power by the reclassification of our people being Gentiles or Greeks, and reclassifying their people as being us. We are proving this. We are proving this right now. Right now. As we speak. Take notes. Let's keep going. Oh, we well, of course. Well, this is 2 Maccabees chapter 6 verse 6. You can read this. This is direct, right? Let's read it as well. One could neither keep the Sabbath days or observe the ancient feasts, nor so much as confess himself to be a Jew. Let's keep going. It says, they cannot practice Jewish. I screenshotted bad, Salakia. It cannot confess himself to be a Jew, cannot practice Jewish laws, cannot publicly claim Jewish identity, like we said before. Then in live legal reality, he is no longer recognized. Live legal reality, he is no longer recognized as Jewish or a Jew. This is why it says before, we're going to read coming back again, where Paul says his epistles or the writing was for the Israelites that were Gentiles or Greek, which is coming up very soon again. The first part we read says that, second part has it also. Let's keep paying attention. Right? It says, verse Maccabees, 2 Maccabees chapter 6 verse 9, it says, if anyone found to have the books of the law, the decree that was that they should be put to death. This means Jewish identity is capital crime. Greek identity is legal survival. That is forced conversion of public identity. Let's keep going. So, bottom line, as you see here, I even bring on this one. You are now touching on exact conclusion that Second Temple Judaism, which you don't, Judah or Jews, the prophets and Paul all converge on, and stated carefully, your claim is largely correct with one necessary precision. We read it so far. Paul also, short answer, no bias, no bias. Yes, the offspring who were born into forced Gentile conditions, never taught Torah, never allowed to identify as Israel, and raised as Greeks, were functionally Gentiles until revelation or restoration occurred, which is when the prophets came back during the Greek to Greco-Roman Empire to bring them back into remembrance who they are. One of them, which was mentioned, being Paul, which means that in one conclusion, one necessary position, Paul's epistles, all of them, were only to those that were Israel, which did not know that they were Israel, which called themselves Greeks or Gentiles or heathen, which we always bring out in Maccabees and even in New Testament, and going back in what happened even in the Old, which you all try to remove or debunk. But you can't debunk reality, can you? It's proven, point proven and clear. With precept, historical evidence, what can you deny now? It's an undeniable fact. that Paul's epistles were only to the Israelites that were Greek or became Gentiles in that state of mind and by citizenship and by the way of living, customs, laws, and I guess all these attributes, right? Well, not attributes to us, but you know what I mean. But Scripture still holds latent Israel identity that can be reawakened. That's what I'm saying. So how could you bypass this? Let's get it. Biblical principle identity requires transmission. In the Bible, covenant identity is not generic. Genetics alone. It requires teaching, practice, memory, and public confession. When all four are forbidden, identity collapses in live reality, which happened in Maccabees, in some parts of Rome, and most important, during the transatlantic slave trade, which we know as 400 years of slavery against our ancestors, which is us that will experience that back then, as we know. All right, now we get that. Right, this is exactly what Antiochus or Antiochus accomplished. One could not even confess himself, which mentioned again, to be a Jew. It literally reiterated again. Children born under the system were not circumcised, did not know the Shabbat, let's continue, and did not know Torah, had Greek names, were raised in Greek education by every biblical and social definition. They were Gentiles. Again, are we seeing the breakdowns here? Are we seeing the understanding here? By every biblical and social definition, they were Gentiles. But they are Israelites or Jews, to be exact, and are in Gentile state of mind. They were Gentiles according to these definitions and understandings. It's part of your history. Scriptures anticipates the exact situation. Let's read in Hosea 1:9 again. You are not my people. Exactly what it anticipates. It says, this is not a metaphor only. It describes generation loss of covenant identity, children raised without knowledge of Yahweh. Yet Hosea immediately says, in the place where it was said, you are not my people, there it should be said, the children of the living power, which is who? Israel. Who are the children of Yahweh Shem Shai? It's Israel. Joel 2 and verse 27. Exodus 3 and verses 10. Matthew 15 and 20. Matthew 18. Romans, Revelation, James, Philippians, John, Luke. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Not just the old, the new, and the Apocrypha, and the books that was hidden and is revealed, and the Apocrypha. You know, when I could understand if you were saying this and solely believe in your heart after your research and study, you know. But you know my problem? Many of y'all don't study. And the reason why I could bring this out with ChatGPT, because I have the same information on the Jewish Encyclopedia, jewishhistory.org, the realhistory.net, which gives the exact same information as ChatGPT showing right here. Which lines up with the book of Maccabees, which we mentioned in multiple times. Have I not brought that out in so much lessons before? This is why I can tell you, after extensive research that we have done, you can't deny it. So for those who don't want to do the research and go off a biasness, that's the only way you could win, by biasness. And even if you win by biasness, that means you're lost because you're not sincere. You're not sincere. So at this point, just close up shop, because this one gonna hit you hard. Verse 3, Ezekiel confirms generally gentilization. Ezekiel 37, the dry bones, which is a prophecy of now, this time especially, where we were in a dead state because we discontinued from our heritage, into what? Being reawakened by the prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Starting with the elder apostle, Abba Bivens. Oh, but no, wait. No, wait. What we're saying is false, right? Right. But we have proved it in scriptures, in historical points, and at this point, even in AI, in artificial intelligence, which you all like to use to try to discredit us. It's proven by simple questions, no twist tongue words. And matter of fact, after this, I'll do the same thing again. I'm going to make sure that you can see face. I'm going to ask no biasness, non-bias, no bias, and ask the question. Let's see. So let's continue. All right, bones have no breath, no identity, no memory. Isn't this correct? Isn't this accurate? They are not called Israel until the Spirit restores them, which happens with us. I did not know I was an Israelite until the Spirit restores me. How the Spirit restores me? By hearing the words of the prophets. Outside, they're speaking from YouTube and on, going out for the first time to hear Malak Quara and Malak Abana speak. Even with JMS Melbourne, Australia, EAU, I believe. Even him. And Yaramia Kazak and Yasharala Manasapat and the elder, I forget his name, and the Alliance, I believe, I forget his name, and a few other brothers that was out here. How do you think I got awakened? This is part of prophecy. Let's read it again. They are not called Israel until the Spirit restores them. So the Spirit must restore you to this understanding for you to be able to understand, hey, this is really what it is. Or else you are going to go against. Because many are called, but few are chosen. Let's keep going. We ain't done. We ain't done in until y'all get this, eh? We ain't done in. We ain't done in our word, I know, but we ain't done in. You know what I mean? Before Revelations, they are indistinguishable from the nations. Verse 4. Paul explicitly assumes this reality. Paul addresses people who are Gentiles without power, alienated from the covenant, then says, you who were once Gentiles in the flesh, look at the precept. Isn't this not the same precept that the Christian guy tried to use to debunk Hebrew Israelites and got confounded? The same precepts that agrees that Paul's epistles and Paul specifically was speaking to Gentiles, which were Israel, which we're going to read now, because it says, you were once Gentiles in the flesh. Ephesians 2 and verses 11. Did we not get this same precept? This phrase only makes sense if some Gentiles were Israelites by ancestry, but Gentiles by condition. This is that. As you continue, Paul is not redefining Israel. He is covering it. That's his purpose, which we says all the time. Paul's epistles are not for actual heathens, but it's for who? Those that were once Israel and by conditions became Gentiles and have not yet been restored. Have not yet known that they were actually Israelites by ancestry, by bloodline. Come down, man. Stop playing. This phrase only makes sense, as I say again. Read it. Verse 5, part 5. And why they are Gentiles until the truth is revealed, because the scriptures identify known identity, known plus lived. Unknown identity has no legal or covenant force, just as a lost prince lives as a peasant until truth is revealed. This is exactly the biblical pattern. I hope your brothers could read this, could listen to this, and it might be a little long, I make things long, but I hope I'll read this too. This does not mean the covenant is destroyed. We read this before. Status, functionally identity, Gentile ancestral election, Israel legal standing suspended, restoration triggers revelation or repentance. This is why restoration is always described as return, remembrance, or awaken. Because for you to remember something, it means you would have to be in something and forget it to have to bring it to be brought into remembrance again. Or return to something which you was once part of. And the more we go, is the more we find ourselves digging deeper in identifying who the Gentiles were in the New Testament that's going to be saved, or the Greeks, right? Conclusion, final precise conclusion, no bias. Children born to Israelite ancestries under forced Hellenization, deprived of Torah and memory, truly lived and functioned as Gentiles in every social, legal, or religious sense. They were Gentiles until the truth is revealed and identity restored. Scriptures allow for this without denying Israel's ultimate continuity. This is exactly what Maccabees described, Hosea anticipates, Ezekiel envisioned, and Paul's presupposes. If you want next, trace this idea in the Quran text. Examine Gentile grafted in with this lens. This is a non-biased lens. No bias. None. No bias. Non-biasness. The grafted in Gentiles were Israelites. No biasness. But biasness, they are not. So which one you going and pick? If biasness, they are not. The Gentiles are not Israelites. But unbiasedness, so no biasness, the Gentiles were Israelites. Which one you going and pick? The biasness, which means it's disingenuous, or the no biasness? That's my question. That's my question now. We not gonna stop. I'm gonna close off here for now and make a part 2. I'll get some truth. I'll get some water. So, hey, shalom. Stay tuned to the next part.